Olá pessoal, sejam muito bem-vindos ao canal do Conectário. Eu tenho a honra, o prazer de apresentar esse projeto novo para vocês. É a união com duas amigas minhas do mestrado, a Kathy e a Sandrine, uma inglesa e outra francesa. A gente se conheceu estudando juntas. Elas têm muita bagagem astrológica, a gente troca muita figurinha e sempre com aquele sonho de fazer alguma coisa juntas, nós três. E a gente está começando por esse trabalho e pensamos que nada melhor do que começar com a Lua Nova, com a fecundação do novo. E é meio uma coincidência, assim, nunca é coincidência, que calhou ser bem a Lua Nova de Gêmeos por uma série de razões. A gente estava planejando, mas acabou acontecendo agora, manifestando agora, que a Lua da conexão, das pontes, o signo, né, que faz as conexões, a comunicação, a troca, o pensamento, as novas ideias. Então eu queria convidar vocês para virem a bordo, fazer essa breve introdução, porque ele vai estar em inglês, e eu sei que esse canal aqui é feito para uma audiência em português, mas eu convido vocês a... Eu vou deixar aqui um card de como colocar a legenda no vídeo, e eu acho que agora o YouTube está disponibilizando bastante conteúdo já dublado. Algumas pessoas já me falaram que viram os meus dublados, e eu convido muito vocês para olharem esse outro ângulo, outras perspectivas. A ideia é que a gente faça a Lua Nova como uma conversa, indo, vocês vão ver que a gente foi por caminhos muito diferentes e é um prazer colocar vocês nessa roda de conversa, vocês que são raiz e vocês que estão entrando por esse vídeo, seja muito bem-vindo. Eu espero que vocês gostem, comentem, dêem um like de vocês, sigam as duas nas suas páginas, vai ser uma honra para mim fazer essa conexão de vocês com elas. A astrologia é muito grande, a gente precisa de muitos pensadores para a gente conseguir um pouquinho mais ir avançando na nossa consciência. Um beijo enorme, fique então com o podcast. A gente deu o nome carinhosamente de 3 graus, 3 degrees, que são nós três juntas. Espero que vocês gostem. Beijo enorme.
Astrological data for new moon in Gemini, 27th of May, 2025.
Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Today we have a little bit of a new concept. I'm introducing the 3 degrees group made of our beautiful friends, the 2 ladies here that I'm going to introduce. First, myself, I'm Denise Carvalho from Conectarian Astrology. And I would like to introduce also Catherine Beckham from Ninth House and Sandrine from New Forest Astrology. So ladies, welcome to our conversation about the new moon in Gemini happening in the end of May. So we're going to have a chat, a conversation, a friends meeting that would like to share with you guys how we approach the new moon, our thoughts, what emerges, concepts. I know we're going to know what happens first. So Kathy, could you introduce yourself and tell us and our audience where to find you?
Thank you, Denise. Yes, so my name's Kathy and I am based in the United Kingdom. I met Denise and Sandrine last summer through the MA for cosmology, and that was at summer school. So my background is basically having worked in offices and the university, so I've got a good office management background, and I've studied astrology on a part-time basis for the last 30 years. So my thing that I'm doing now is concentrating on my creativity. That includes creative writing, songwriting, performing, photography, video editing, and astrology. So you can find me at Ninth House Productions. So, Sandrine.
Hi everyone. So yeah, my name is Sandrine. I'm based in the New Forest in the south of England, and the name, very original, New Forest Astrology, and the website is .com where you can find me. What to say? Yeah, so we study buddies together, and I'm really excited about that new project, sharing our astrological conversation, and we decided to structure that around the new moon. So we should be doing that once a month. That's right. I have a background in business first, and then education. astrology came to me, I've always been interested into astrology and other more, let's say, maybe obscure thing anyway. But following a life experience, something really transformative, and so it means a lot to me. And what else? Well, that's it, really. Yeah. No, I love reading. Too many books all behind me. Reading, music, and just talking about astrology a lot, maybe too much.
Great. Thank you, Sandrine. So I didn't say I'm based in Panama. My audience knows me, but since we're going to share this video, I'm Brazilian based in Panama, and also with a business background and studying astrology for the last 26 years, actually, and seeing customers for the last 19. So we all have good long journeys, right, to share.
Yeah.
And it's nice that we're starting this with a new moon in the sign of Gemini. What do you think, ladies? The sign of communication, of connection. Shall we start from there? So since the new moon is the connection of sun and the moon, I love seeing that as the new birth, the male and female principle together, generating the new in the sign of the communication, connection. How do you see that playing out in this new moon? What calls your attention in this new moon? So first of all, shall we say, you help me out there, because we have when it's happening in Europe time, the new moon, right? It's happening May 27.
Yeah, 27 at
Which hour there?
4:03 UK time. I think because we're in different time zone, we've decided to focus a bit more on the aspect rather than the houses. But I'm like you, I really like working with the new moon. I'm on YouTube. I've got two channels, one in French, one in English. The one in English is dormant, and I really like the fact we are starting our new project on the new moon. And I know there's lots happening in Gemini, but actually, to me, I found it really exciting. We are starting our project when it's the first lunation with Saturn and Neptune together in Aries, and in that chart, there's a real chain of action, of energy, so I think it's very auspicious. We are initiating something, and I think everyone will feel that starting energy somewhere in their life. There'll be a sector that's going to be impacted by this. It's more than a restart. It's a new page turning, and yeah, that's how I see that new moon. I find it empowering and liberating. If I had two words for it. And you?
So if I can just jump in.
Yeah.
I'm just really wanting to echo what you've said, because the three main themes for me is intellectual renewal and communication, which you've already mentioned. I love the idea of things getting better. So if we can have any transformation in societies, having some shifts, that would be really good. But with all of that Aries energy, I think there's going to be a lot of bold action and collective ideas. And I think what I would wish for, or want to bestow, or to see, coming forward, is people feeling more confident to be able to speak about what they really think. So if they could improve their relationships and have the confidence to say what they really believe. So
yeah.
It's really interesting, Kathy. When you were speaking, I hadn't thought about that before. This Gemini is so much the two sides of one story, right? And nowadays we're not having these two sides. It's so polarized. And how do you think we can make use, each of us, and maybe collectively, that's a new moon full of mutable, right? A lot of mutable energy, with not only the Gemini, but with a very important presence of Mercury, which is the planet that rules Gemini. So it's a lot of this connectivity, and I love the way Geminis have this ability to see the two sides of a situation and really take into consideration the opposite of something, the two sides. So how can that inspire us in this so big moment of change, as Sandrine said, with this Neptune, Saturn coming so close together in the middle of the year? What comes to mind as how...
I think you're right when you talk about the two sides, because I like looking at I didn't say in the presentation, but I love working with the tarot. To me, it's indissociable, really. And by the way, we haven't mentioned, but the new moon year is a seeding time, the starting point, when we have the sun and the moon coming together, and we're restarting something. So it's even stronger. But the new moon being in the first decan of Gemini, it taps into it's connected to the Eight of Swords, as tarot goes, and also is the arcane of the lover, Gemini as a sign. And we have two things here. So we got the lover, which talks about decision, and actually, having to make a decision, taking a side, in a world where there might be lots of confusion, a lot of polarization, and we don't maybe always dare to express our allegiance or motivation or belief, and I think that is going to come strong during that new moon, especially under the impulse of all the stuff that's going on in Aries, with that, that there's and that sense of empowerment, but at individual level. And then the Eight of Swords, which corresponds to the first decan of Gemini, talk about feeling trapped, feeling blocked, but often it's in our mind. And I think the trine with Pluto retrograde might give us some keys to unlock blockages, or giving us, Cassie, you were talking about thinking differently, information, having access to different kind of information, and I think Pluto might bring that to the mix as well. So yeah, that's my go on, Kathy, because
so what can be really difficult when you find yourself in a polarized situation is, how do you find the middle ground? Who's right, who's wrong?
It depends. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were asking me the question. Sorry.
Well, I suppose I could be, but I suppose what I have been aware of is that the way that we can find a way of coming together is finding those values that we share. So instead of being played and divided, we can actually, try and find out, well, what is it that we both believe in, that we could both agree? Because I think, it's being Gemini and acknowledging the other person's point of view, or seeing, the other side. It can sort of make decision making difficult. But I think if you speak with authenticity, and also if you listen as well, listen to the other side, then I think, once you realise you have things in common, then I think that can start to bring things together, as opposed to having all of this separation.
The bridge creator, isn't it? I see this Gemini and all this Mercury, even taking into consideration, although we have this massive aspect of Saturn Neptune, which I think is a huge umbrella at the moment, of really dissolving structures. We have this beautiful aspect to Pluto that allows us to go deeper into what Gemini means, and also creating those bridges. And I also think in another way of the Gemini right now, what narratives do we tell ourselves? So every time I think about communication and Gemini, I think, what am I telling to myself? And I think of Mercury also as a symbol of how much we spend. We live in our minds, right? That's the space we live in. So what opportunities of new seeds that the new moon places to us in terms of self narratives, And as Sandrine pointed out, I absolutely love all the phases of the moon, but the new moon being the new process. And the fact that the moon is gaining light for the first 15 days of the cycle, we have this encouragement to move in the direction of that particular sign. So how do you ladies see that, this narrative? What are we telling ourselves?
What I was thinking about when you were talking then, Denise, was your favourite man, Ian McGilchrist.
Yes, my man, I love him.
And one of his concepts about your shadow self. Do you remember talking to us about that?
Yes, actually, there was so for the audience, Kathy is talking about Ian McGilchrist, who wrote The Master and His Emissary and The Matter Within's two masterpieces, and we can put some information in our descriptions because it's really interesting work. And actually, he was talking to another guy. I have to look for the link and put for the people, who is a storyteller. And the storyteller says about a story, I'm not going to say the name or the details, but in essence, we have a shadow psychologically. We have like the good part of us that we want to share and explore, and the shadow part that we want to hide. And when we are born, this shadow part goes into, escaping from us, go to a forest and hide. And maybe we are in the search for the shadow part, which makes us complete. And I love that you bring that up, Kathy, because that's really a Gemini thing, isn't it?
It's so Gemini.
It's so Gemini, this other part. And in this conversation, Ian and this other guy that we need to put the credit here, he says about that, the more we try to run away from it, the less entire we feel. And I super connect to that, having a Pluto aspect. That's what I think it's so nice of Pluto in trine. You can go super deeper into the tough stuff, but gracefully, or in this case, intellectually, sometimes maybe putting into words very deep feelings that we are unable otherwise. Maybe could be a possibility of this lunation. What do you guys think?
Coming back to that Pluto trine Gemini, to me, it says the end of naivety as well. There's a kind of coming of age, maybe a spiritual coming of age. I like as well all that chain between air and fire element. It's like a powerhouse, but yeah, and Gemini is a mirror, and we need to see both sides. But maybe I'm going to be a bit controversial here. I do think on that new moon, there is a focus on finding our truth, actually. There's Mars in Leo's about being, you were talking about it, Cassie, about being authentic. And I think Neptune in Saturn is in Aries, is going to redefine or question our sense of identity. You cannot question something unless you have clarity about what you stand for, what you're about. So that's why, yes, meeting in the middle, making compromise, but in a polarized world, where do you locate yourself first? And I think that new moon is going to give us some clarity about who we really are, before we can make a move. Before being able to go to the middle, you need to know how far you are from the middle, perhaps. What do you think?
I see Mars in Leo as really giving confidence to stand up and declare who you are. And it's in lovely aspect to Venus as well, who's also in a fire sign. So hopefully, it'll be an opportunity for people to feel as though my voice can be heard, It
does that. So I don't know if that I have a feeling like when I look at that chart, it's super dynamic, it's super moving forward, it's super elevated, but as well there is something quite restless, possibly, that there's the potential to do how can I say that? There is the potential of doing some really positive work, but I wonder if there's an idea to me of it's nearly revolutionary there's that kind of vibe. And I was trying to think about, revolution, why, and Saturn, Neptune, and Neptune actually can be quite fiery, quite angry. The trident of Neptune can be used to break rocks and let stream and rivers and give birth to things, and it can be quite violent. But I think, and that's why I was talking about empowerment at the beginning, but it's individual, and that's why I think about this possibility of, maybe it's more mundane astrology I'm going to talk, but for social unrest and revolution, because revolution are made by people, for people, against governing authority, and you need courage, and you need to have your voice being heard, as opposed to war, who are made by governing authority against people. So I think the notion of individual is to me, it might be the strongest. And the new moon in Gemini is opening new avenue of thinking, of seeing the world, and Gemini trining Chiron and Venus. It's a beautiful thing here. It's a beautiful helping hand, yeah? Do it well, yeah?
And just to echo what you were saying there, once again, the moon is out of bounds. So it means that there is that restless quality, and people are going to have to employ a degree of discipline in order to stop things tipping over into chaos.
Yeah.
And Kathy, just coming back a little bit, why you were saying about Ian and the shadow, I think you were going to say something else.
Well, I think it's to do with the integration of the Gemini energy, So for me, I've been thinking about the shadow and how it can be integrated, and often we can have relationships with people and we can be very Libra, very polite, very diplomatic, and oftentimes we can think, oh gosh, I can see shadow stuff happening here, but it seems impolite to mention. So how do you have an authentic relationship that's able to heal tricky things, and it's about having confidence and vulnerability and trust to be able to hear things that might be a little bit uncomfortable. So I've been thinking, do I have a twin who's invisible? And just playing with that concept that, when people see me, they also see my twin. So I think one school of thought that I used to study was transactional analysis, and I think if you can get to the stage where you say I'm okay, you're okay, that's a good bridge to build. So yeah, the reason I mentioned Ian was because I've been thinking about my own shadow.
Yes, and you made me think of a psychotherapist once said that we are like the babies that hiding, behind the curtain, thinking that he's not being seen, and we are exactly like that as an adults. We're hiding.
Can't see me.
We think we're not being seen, and it's really funny. But back to what Sandrine was saying, I think this level of restlessness is huge. I agree with you. First, it's the fire air, and there is this level of disorder. I think this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is a high level of disorder. We have Uranus kind of close from the full moon that was closer, but now it's still there. It's a little further from Mercury, but still this restlessness. Help me out. The
Restlessness.
Thank you. It's love to have you. So and all this mental high activity, right? In all senses. Mercury in Gemini and Mercury in media, news, unpredicted news, shaking news. I don't know, all this media situation about the news that would maybe be on the news. So much about new information coming. And also we have this Uranus close to the new moon and also close to Gemini.
Yeah,
in July. So we are in this very special moment. I think it's a very special moment we are in. I'm gracefully calling this Saturn-Neptune conjunction the cycle of disorder, but it could be a nice disorder in a way that it disorganizes what is not holding anymore. It's not operating anymore. It's like an exhaustion of maybe situations that are not working anymore. So all this mental activity, which can lead to anxiety or thinking too much, or I don't know, but how we balance this fire, air, and being restless in a way, in a constructive way, in a new ideas way, or, being a new moon, what new things can be created, be said, be explored? I don't know.
Well, I think we have to learn to be flexible, don't we?
Yeah, great. Great point. Okay, that's the point. Yeah. I think this is the big thing of the moment, flexibility.
Well, there's a lot going on here in the mutable, but to me that there is something unstoppable, and that restlessness, I don't think we're going to be able to escape it. I was thinking as well, looking at that chart, remind me, I thought I do find the chart generally quite stoic, and in that one, I was just listening to a podcast the other day on the Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic, and he was saying something like, waste no more time arguing about what a good man is, just be one. And I was thinking, actually, that's Jupiter trine Chiron Venus. Maybe it's that, be the best that you can. You can't change what's going on around. Clearly, there are some things out there which are difficult. We're not going to, put our pink glasses on all the time. But you can, what you can control is how you react to it. It's what you make of it inside. And the piece is there, but be the best as you can. And I like that Jupiter in Gemini as well for that new moon. Uranus is about to come in. It's less than 5 degrees, so it's as if it's already there. It's going to bring openness, but also chaos there. But Jupiter maybe is reminding us that maybe I mean, I know it's a bit cheesy to say that, but it's true. It's really, the journey is important. And Gemini is all about exploring your surrounding, but in doing so, you acquire self-knowledge, awareness, wisdom, and that's what Jupiter is about as well. And in that, you can, it equals Chiron, which you can heal here something within you, which is Aries. And again, Mars is in Leo. Be brave, be courageous, be authentic, be yourself. And that's what I meant when I said, when I was talking about Gemini as the lover and feeling trapped. Take one side. That doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be, confronting, but be true to yourself. And where do you stand? Where do you stand? Because we're embarking on something so new, so new. Nothing is really new ever, but you know what I mean. That Saturn, Neptune in Aries is as big. The last conjunction in Aries was during the Renaissance. Yeah, so they were doing beautiful things. They were writing incredible, things, but still there were war and stuff happening in the background. But it's that level of change, and you have to know where you stand when you embark on something which is so massively, it's such a huge shift, yeah. And that new moon with that Pluto again retrograde is giving us that space to go deep inside, and maybe to to bring some revelation as well, maybe not coming from outside. And I mean, that's maybe more on the psychological side of things, but even in relationship, in our life, it's a massive I don't know, it's actually, I'm quite blown away by that chart. Actually, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry. I'm going on.
You're going to say something, Kathy?
Well, my thoughts, as Sandrine was speaking then, were to do with the journey and like experiences that we have. I tell myself things pass through me, you know, because nothing ever stays, does it? So I think allowing things to pass through you and knowing that they won't last forever. When they're good things, you have to appreciate them. When they're bad things, you know it won't last forever.
Yeah.
But also, my a couple of points I wanted to make about my relationship with astrology is that I tend to regard it as an artist's palette, you know, with different colours, different tones, different textures, and we can tell stories with these elements that are presented to us. So I have great creative fun playing with, you know, just looking at numbers and relationships. And then having done history of art, I've also come up with the theory that astrology really is a way to curate the dramas that unfold in the theatre of our lives. So when you see friends, lovers, colleagues, associates, and they act out these dramas in front of you, it's lovely to be able to think that things that happen aren't necessarily personal, but that these people, yourself included, are kind of like conduits for universal energy. And if they do things, it might be that they're just delivering a message, you know. So I find that it's very good for detachment, and yeah, just being able to accept when things happen the way that they do, that everything is perfect. And it was often you can go to your ephemeris and find out, oh right, that's why the train didn't turn up on time, you know, or whatever. It's just such a great tool to be able to you know, go through life's journey.
Yeah, and you said something interesting that we can connect to Gemini, Kathy, is giving name to situations or to painful situations. The fact is very therapeutical to give name to a situation or to put a psychological space or to something very painful to give a narrative, an internal narrative that
Yeah.
fits into your story and fits with your shadow and or welcome your shadow somehow and bring this integration that again this polarity of Gemini that connects to integration, right? And with the help of Pluto, even deep situations or stories or traumas, maybe, I don't know. It also caught my attention, this technological thing. And maybe we can face some restlessness in technology with Uranus so close, or given that it's, as we were saying, media, news, all this relating to Gemini and Mercury, the fact that we have this trine to Pluto in Aquarius, maybe new technologies or new things about the so many new technologies that we are, maybe AI tools that is placed, or space exploration news. I don't know, this all technological thing that maybe we hear during this lunation cycle. And also, Sandrine was saying about the fact that Jupiter is in Gemini, and we see this lunation cycle within the month of June, this third and exact aspect between Jupiter and Saturn, now together with Neptune. So it's huge, this ethical and legal, and we are seeing all these Supreme Court situations in different countries. Maybe there are news regarding that. Seeing Saturn Neptune is going to dissolve a lot of situations, and Saturn is going to ask for the judgment or analysis or being very down to earth and practical about the ethical situations that maybe Jupiter brings.
Yeah. I would add to that. I agree with you. I would add to that maybe that square Jupiter to Saturn and the North Node still in Pisces. It's a challenge as well. We need to expand our mind and you know, all the modes of information and communication are going to be transformed. And maybe you know that Jupiter here is in aspect to challenging aspect to Saturn and North Node. Maybe it's pointing as well to the necessity that we can't throw the baby with the water of the bath. We need to capitalize on past experience if we want to guarantee you know, something which is going to be long term. All these changes, I mean, changes is unavoidable here. Uranus in Gemini is going to bring so much transformation in the technological area and AI, and hence again you know, our astrology is well done, because we got all that focus on the individual, on the, you know, between Aries and Leo, you know, are important. It's going to be able to remain human and retain some sense of individuality. So there's also an idea of sovereignty and you know, which is really strong to me. But you know, that square Saturn Jupiter, it's also an invitation to remember maybe where we come from and what we've done, and not to throw everything to the altar of novelties and and all these things we still don't understand. There's a sense of maybe maturity. I mean, looking at the positive aspect of these planets, it's to, you know, to, yeah, loss of you know, that there's no point being naive here, really. Again, you know, be real. You know, Saturn bring that kind of art stare, but also experiences and wisdom and maturity, and we need it for what's to come. Also, it reminded me, I don't know why if it would be, you know, in I can't remember who said that. Maybe someone in a couple of centuries ago, when you know, the world was going through that new you know, science and things. Science without conscience is ruin of the soul.
Mm.
And maybe it's that, no, that weight that Saturn
Say
can bring.
say again, Sandrine, please.
I said science without conscience is ruin. It's the ruin of the soul.
Okay.
So Jupiter, Saturn, and you know, Uranus coming into Gemini, and don't you think there is a kind of a spiritual vibe to that chart? Maybe it's all the air and the fire, but it's, you know, in a world that talks about AI and war and stuff, and it's reminding us that maybe we are also spiritual being.
Yeah. I think it's so mental and intellectual, and there's lots of air and fire. And I like what you said. I agree. When Pluto is in Aquarius, and it's a long time, 20 years of this very mind-oriented, and this chart to me is very mind-oriented, maybe to an extreme. And maybe that's a good recall of spirituality. The lack of water, totally no planets in water, right? At the moment, if I'm not wrong, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
And
no, there's only that.
and I think there is lots of mind, Gemini, Mercury, Uranus, this Pluto in Aquarius, lots of mind. And I think I agree with you, Sandrine. We will need to recall of the heart, Leo, right? The opposed of Aquarius.
And the
I think,
fire, Jupiter, the spirit, Neptune, in
yes,
fire sign, that the spirit.
yes,
Yeah.
we need to be reminded of that. Yeah.
Mm.
And maybe the spirit of, and I love this Aries thing. We can take Aries very wrongly, and I think many people in many places are doing that right now. Lots of wars that could escalate and all of that we know about. But on the other hand, I think it's so powerful that we can raise the individual talent. I think this long time in Pisces, we kind of, everybody was everything mixed and everybody was the same. And
Yeah, maybe.
now Aries says, no, we cannot replicate a person.
Maybe
Kathy was talking about creativity, that her creativity is unequal to any other artist. It's just, that's the individual. You cannot take one drop less of that individual. It's not an individual anymore, you know. So I
And maybe
like
it's not so it's not so much emotion we need to go into at the minute, and maybe that also, you know, no, there's a reason why there is not so much water,
yeah,
because it's not emotion. Maybe we need to tap into that rational level of rational thinking, rational as in spiritual, you know, that
yeah.
I'm talking about that rational. And that's why we've got all that fire, and that's why I think actually it's inspiring, but it brings me hope, that chart actually, that the stars are on our side, and they are equipping us with what we need at the minute. Maybe you don't need to have too much emotion. Just, you know, just raise above and see the bigger picture. But remember who you are and where you come from.
And where do we come from, Sandrine?
Well, I'm reading at the minute because I'm prepared. I'm starting to think about the dissertation, and I'm reading about René Guénon. So I know you got your intellectual, your crush on
Ian?
Macrae,
Yeah.
Ian, yeah, and me, I think it's Guénon really. And so my reading yesterday, if I can share that,
Yeah.
talking about Aries and the soul. So it really, and it links to, you know, the reason I'm doing my dissertation and the MA is because I had that, you know, life-changing experience of the other side, which I needed to understand really. And so I'm desperate to understand what it is all about. And the idea, and that's why I'm into numbers and all these things, and Aries actually, and fire is actually, you have one source, and we all part of that source. And it was still quite obscure to me, that concept. And the more I read about, you know, Guénon, and it's so well articulated, and actually, you know, he's been there, that guy. And then we like, you know, we go down, if you want, that, I don't know, that tunnel, that channel of I don't know how to define that, but, you know, different stages of manifestation until we incarnate, and once we've incarnated, we are the lower level, and the more pixelated, the more fragmented, the more divided. And then we've got that sense of ego, which is important actually, because that's why we've come to experience. Because each speck of ego is a speck of that source, if you want, and you need to, well, from what I understand from the reading anyway, I'm doing a book review here. Um, um, we are actualizing our own spec, if you want. And then when we go back on the other side, we go back to the source and to the oneness. But here, on that plane, actually, the idea is not to be one with everything. The idea is to be who we,
Yourself. Yeah.
and ourself is our chart when we're born, yeah? It's
Because
that
being
moment
yourself
in
is
time.
being the whole. It's all
Yeah,
connected. Yeah.
exactly. But there are two sides, like where we go back to Gemini, there's the other side, and there's that side
Yes.
we are. And it's important to be ourselves. And even if it's not perfect, even if it's hurt our neighbor, I'm not saying we need to be mean or something, but we need to stand our ground. We need to, you know, you're talking about art, Cassie, and I really love what you say about, you know, you're doing your own painting, you paint your life, but your chart, you are still being given some colors, yeah? And you have to compose with that. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna take that one and that one. No, you are being given a palette, yeah? And from that you draw. And you have to own you know, be proud of your child. Be proud. I mean proud, again, I don't like that word, but be,
Leo in Mars.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, own it, yeah, own it and activate it, because that's your job. And when you're on the other side, you can melt, you can merge again. But here, you have to uh to to paint your own colors, yeah. And
Yeah.
that chart is telling that to us. I think that's
All you said is this transition from Pisces to Aries, right? I think we have been so much maybe soaked in water with this Pisces Neptune for so many years, Neptune in Neptune's case, that now we're still drying all this water to,
I like that.
to really express Aries.
Mm.
But all you said in a very beautiful and poetical way, it's like this transition from Pisces to Aries, but we're still wet.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
why the lack of water here, I think I agree with you, the connection with spirituality, but maybe the lack of water now is like drier now, saying, okay, get dry,
Enough.
Yeah.
enough,
And
you need to be dry.
Neptune and his trident is that there is an element of water in Neptune, obviously, yeah, but there is element of fire, and the both are, it's super creative, so there is still water, but it's water transformed.
I like that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
By the way, we need to do something about elements, because I know we've been talking about that,
Yes.
and it's so actually interesting as well.
And Sandrine, just for our audience, for me, and for our description of the video, which book of René Guénon you're referring to?
The Symbolism of the Cross. And there
okay.
are plenty of other, but that's the one I'm reading at the minute.
I hear so much about him. I never read. I want to read. But
Yeah, that's gonna be my main reading for my dissertation, I think. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I have a real. I'm really happy. And we were talking before we started recording, and Katie, I'm sure you agree with that as well. We've done lots of work with Saturn in Pisces, yeah. And we always do work wherever Saturn is in the chart, and it doesn't last that long. The transit of Saturn, even if when you're under the weather, 2 years is always very long. But now, really, it's emerging out of all that water, and we have come to make something out of the effort we have produced in Pisces. And I'm sure if anyone listening, can put that in relation to his own chart, his chart, and the house there. Yeah, what are you working on? I find you cannot deny the power of the astrological chart and what it's doing to you. And we all know where we need to put the work, and now with that Saturn Neptune coming, and that new moon is going to give us the mental clarity, abilities, and maybe if there's anything that make us feel stuck in that first decan of Gemini, that's going to be the moment to deep clean it with that. Pluto is a bit like some bleach, something really that strong cleaning product you put on anything, and nothing stays, and then we can do the work in Aries free.
I'm laughing because I was saying to Denise today, preparing for this conversation was like preparing for visitors, and it was the incentive that I needed to get out the duster and the Hoover.
Yeah.
Clearing the decks, getting ready for hard work, discipline, and the next stage. Yeah,
challenging always. No rest, but Saturn. There's no effort that goes unrewarded. I mean, and that's the thing to remember as well. Even if you don't get the reward you expect, you just get the reward you need, and also the difference between what you need and what you want. And Saturn's going to give you what you need.
And we need the maturity to see that, which is also Saturn. And I would like to ask Kathy that you spoke before our conversation, and we haven't spoke as a group, so I want to ask you your perspective of this Venus in the chart of the new moon.
Aries.
In Aries, yes. What comes to mind? So we don't leave our audience without the Venus perspective.
Well, she's conjunct Chiron, isn't she? Well, not conjunct, but she's 6 degrees away from Chiron.
Yeah.
5 degrees.
So I think that's an opportunity there to heal relationships and look at your money issues. But what I really like is the trine with Mars.
The lovers.
Yeah. I
together.
like to see a nice aspect between male and female. I think we've had far too much polarity. And I think if there was anything I would like to shout out to the world, is that male and female is complementary, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Do you know what it makes me think? Actually, as you're talking, I'm looking at your beautiful nails, and I haven't done mine today. And your jumper, Coco Chanel. Do you know the I can't find the word. Anyway, Coco Chanel.
The
She
designer.
said if you have designer. If you have a heartbreak or something, just put some lipstick on, and you're good, yeah. And that's very Venus in Aries, don't you think? Red
Well,
lipstick, obviously, in
well,
Aries.
Can I share my favourite poem with you then?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. It's called A Streak of Lipstick. S-T-I-C-K. Yes, lipstick. And okay, so it's called A Sudden Streak of Lipstick. And if you can recall an image by Man Ray, who did surreal photography, it's a black and white photograph of a woman, but she's painting her lips, and the only colour in the photograph is red. So I think Man Ray wrote this poem. It's called A Sudden Streak of Lipstick. Every age has its own courageous gestures. The knight drew his sword. The gallant threw down his glove. The signor coolly took his pinch of snuff. There is a modern gesture to be added to the list, a purely feminine gesture. When a woman has lost her lover, when a girl has lost her job, when the doctor has told his fatal vows, the dinner party flopping, the birth pains beginning, the scandal breaking, the other woman calling by in triumph. The sudden streak of lipstick across the lips spells courage. It's not done frivolously, but resolutely, desperately, defiantly, even gaily, with a dash of dignity of a courageous heart. Proud fingers wield their weapon. This act reinforces the spirit. The streak of red lipstick steadies the trembling lips. For one poignant moment, the lipstick takes on the significance of a sword.
Wow. We got to finish on that because it's
Is it
perfect.
yours, Kathy? It's yours, authorship?
No, I think it was written by Man Ray.
Ah, okay. Okay. It's
It's
beautiful.
perfect. Katy,
Isn't
it's
it perfect? Because, you know, it's Venus in Aries, and also it's the lovers and it's the sword.
It's all in it, and it's the Leo and it's the Aries. I think, yeah, we maybe got to finish on that one. It's
Yeah.
just good. Well done. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. You'll have to
Very
send
nice.
it to us. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
So, ladies, I think we are close to the end, and I want to say another thing about Gemini and Mercury, which are symbols of the peers, the colleagues, the partners of, the colleagues. And we're starting this peer conversation, right? Just so Gemini, isn't it? Like the brothers, right? Also Gemini and Mercury, the relationship with our peers. So we are starting this peer thing in the
I think it's a
Gemini.
perfect chart to start our little conversation and meetup and sharing them as well with other, which is the Jupiter in Gemini, you know? It's a little gathering, just come on and share because we'd like to expand.
Sure. And I would like to ask you again where people find you. Also, what are you doing at the moment? If people want to maybe chart reading or other kind of things you're doing.
Can you go, Katy?
So you can find me on YouTube at Ninth House Productions. I can read your chart, I can edit your videos, or I could write you a poem.
And you can sing it too, Katy.
Yes, she's a great singer. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing singer, actually.
Yeah. Sandrine.
I am reading chart too, especially I'm having a little break from the study at the minute. So I'm reading chart. I'm preparing workshop in the New Forest with another colleague, and we're going to focus on elements, which I think it's a nice entry point in the chart and quite grounding and concrete. Saturn in Neptune in my third. I mean, I have a writing project, and I'm getting more and more clarity on that, aside from the rest of our course. So yeah, workshop, consultation, and writing, and you can find me at newforestastrology.com on Instagram. I have also 2 channels on YouTube, New Forest Astrology France, where I put regular video on the new moon because I like the new moon, and the UK one, which is going to be restarted with our teamwork. That's it.
Great. Yeah. And myself, you can find me also for chart reading. I'm also developing a workshop about mothers and sons, the relationship, which I call the mother of your son. It's the name of the workshop. So you can find all information about my work on YouTube, Conectarium. It's Astrologia because it's in Portuguese. So I have to find the one in English too. But anyway, and also conectarium.com.br is my website with all other information and curiosities about myself. So ladies, thank you. It was super nice. I loved
Thank you very much.
Can we promise to this beautiful audience that we're going to be back for the Cancer new moon?
I was going to say, may I just add that the plan is we are going to share this video on our respective channel. Yeah, and hopefully carry on once a month for the new moon. Very happy to do so.
Yes.
I'm looking forward.
So we see you soon. Thank you for watching. If you come to the end, it was a pleasure. Let us know what you think. Give us a like, please follow all of us. And if you could leave a message, a commentary to let us know what you think. Thank you. Take care. See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Sun in Gemini, 6 degrees, 20 minutes. Moon in Gemini, 6 degrees, 20 minutes. Mercury in Gemini, 2 degrees, 20 minutes. Venus in Aries, 20 degrees, 20 minutes. Mars in Leo, 18 degrees, 30 minutes. Jupiter in Gemini, 26 degrees, 29 minutes. Saturn in Aries, 0 degrees, 8 minutes. Uranus in Taurus, 27 degrees, 49 minutes. Neptune in Aries, 1 degree, 47 minutes. Pluto in Aquarius, 3 degrees, 42 minutes.